So I think Cameron Winter is like a really good songwriter, like kind of crazily so for how young he is. I think he's quite young at least, and I think he's great at writing songs for a couple of reasons. So I think the first bit is he's great at evoking feelings in his songs, and especially through his singing. I think he's very honest to the emotions he's trying to portray in the songs. I think obviously, and anybody that listens to him knows that he delivers the what he's singing in a very interesting way. What he chooses when he chooses to go falsetto, when he chooses to like scream, when he chooses to speak, when he chooses to be like strange or froggy or whatever else he is. I think it's quite interesting. It's fun to listen to. I think he's a great liar, like a really good liar, and you don't actually know what he's trying to say through his singing or through his composition or through whatever else. And then the last bit that I really love about him is that his lyrics are interesting but not pretentious. And we'll talk about that a little bit. And I know right here I have Leonard Cohen and Hank Williams sitting on the subway with him, but I actually don't think he's really like any other songwriter I can think of, or like singer I can think of. I know he gets compared to a lot of people, but when I listen to him, he just like doesn't feel like anybody else. He feels quite singular. I made a joke about Playboy Cardi being like Tom Waits, and I think that's like more true than I can think of anybody being similar to Cameron Winter. So I'm going to talk about one song, Try As I May, from Heavy Metal, which is going to be the first little bit of the video, and then I'm going to talk about two tunes from Getting Killed, which is it's just an incredible album. I've been listening to a whole bunch, but two tunes that I think showcase his songwriting well, which is Half Real and Husbands. And so we'll get into that. If you want to skip Heavy Metal because you think Heavy Metal is maybe like too soft of an album, that's fine. You can see where to skip to. It won't bug me. So I think Try As I May is the best song on Heavy Metal, kind of by a long shot. I think Love Takes Miles is the song I'm gonna like sing maybe the rest of my life to myself, but Try As I May is sort of the one I think about quite a bit. And I think a lot of it has to do is because I think this song is very honest to a specific feeling, which is trying to get something back or someone back that you have lost, which I think is what it's about. It might not be, but when I listen to it, that's what I think it's about. And so I think the best place to start is just to like actually listen to the first little bit. And so what we're going to be listening to here is what sounds like the keyboard playing out of rhythm or the wrong notes, but what I think is interesting about it compositionally, and I think Cameron Winter has full control over all this stuff, despite like the Craigslist rumors, is that the keyboard's like playing and trying to figure out if it can play with the singer. And I'll get to that a little bit, but I'm going to play this a little bit and then talk about it. Try as I may, I'm still fighting for you in my own long suffering away. You were meant to watch my private ceremonies. So like there you have him singing sort of alone, and then you have the keyboard and like the little drum part, and then you have these little like brr, brr moments coming from the keyboard that seem a little bit out of place, and it feels as if the composition of the song itself is trying to figure out if the singer is able to express the emotion clearly. And then you also have the backing vocals. If you listen closely, I think it's sort of in like the back bottom of your right ear and a little bit of your left ear. The backing vocals are just very distant and not fully in line with what the singer is trying to say. But what the lyrics are and what the lead singer is singing, in this case Cameron, is that he's he's fighting for something in his own long-suffering way. And to me, it feels like the music hasn't really believed what he's saying. And then you get to the next bit, which is the second verse, which is Try As I May to hold your crazy ass against the wall, which is one of those moments that just rattles in my head a whole bunch. I think about it quite a bit, and there's so much violence in this little bit. And it feels like, I don't know, I like feel the emotion of being held against the wall or holding against the wall, and I think it's really incredible. But I'm going to play that quick and then talk about it. To hold your crazy ass against the wall, and my scared shitless way you came down to see my private ceremonies all. So I think this is so cool because it seems as if the music agrees with him singing that scared shitless is a more honest way to say what he's feeling, like very scared that he lost whoever he lost or lost whatever he lost, and that saying scared shitless and I tried to hold you against the wall, like tried to keep you, is a more honest way of saying it, because you have the backing vocals come in right after that moment, and then you also have like the accordion do the little run. So I'll play what Long Suffering sounds like so that we can get a feel for how the composition felt when he said long suffering. Long suffering away, you were meant to walk. Right, so then you get the "you were meant to walk," and there are no backing vocals, no other instruments come in, because I just feel the song doesn't agree with the singer, that that's how the singer's feeling. Like, my long suffering is the right way to say it. And then you get the scared shitless bit, which is so cool, because then the backing vocals come in and the accordion does the little run. So I'll play that quick. Against the wall, and my scared shitless way, you came down to see my private ceremonies all on the floor. And then the delivery itself just like feels more honest, like the way that the lead singer, the lead voice sings it just feels a lot more honest. And the song goes on, and he has a lot more try as I mays, and there are a couple moments that are like mysterious, and this is where I think he's just a great liar. He says things and they feel so true to the emotion of the song, but I just have no idea what they mean. So you have the "to be seen getting loud on the phone," "you were born to break my hairy football arms," like "clean windows kill the birds," and then you also have the "I hadn't sailed 30 feet when I drowned in expensive clothes for the oysters all the sea." And this is after other try as I may verses and some wall metaphors and stuff, and it feels like he's avoiding getting to the point that he's supposed to be singing about, but it still feels very honest. Like, he still sings so honestly. It's incredible. So I'm actually just going to play the "hadn't sailed 30 feet" because I want to talk about it. But yeah, they have these little throwaway bits, or he has these little throwaway bits that are full of meaning and mystery, but I just have no idea what they mean. Armed and knuckle scraping ways, I hadn't sailed 30 feet when I drowned in expensive clothes for the oysters all to see. But that little bit right there, which is like the last bit before sort of the big moment of, in my opinion, the whole album, or the big moment of the song, is that "sailed 30 feet." The lead singer, the lead voice, feels very unconvinced as to what he's saying, even though it like still feels kind of convincing. And then also the backing vocals sort of pull away from what he's saying, as if he's gone this whole song singing, trying to convey an emotion, and he got to this point where he's singing "I hadn't sailed 30 feet when I drowned in expensive clothes for the oysters all the sea," and then the song's like, man, I don't know if I really believe that we got to the point when we started this song that I hoped we would get to. So I'll play it one more time so you can hopefully hear what I'm talking about. Listen to the backing vocals and the delivery from the main vocals. Armed and knuckle scraping ways, I hadn't sailed 30 feet when I drowned in expensive clothes for the oysters all to see. Like, it's still convincing, it's still interesting, but it doesn't feel like as convincing as that "scared shitless ways" moment. And then to me, you get the best moment on the album, which I'll play quickly, then talk about. I mean, how good is that? It's like, "try as I may to love what fits in my hand, I don't. It's just like so completely honest. And then after that moment, so all the instruments drop out, because it's like it's so naked. It's like a very naked moment, and the instruments are almost surprised how honest to like the emotions of the song that the voice has become. And then that moment happens, and then the instruments are like, yeah, that's exactly what we were feeling, and they come back in. So I'll play that quickly once more, and then we'll move on. Try to love what fits in my hand. I don't. Yeah, it's just so cool that like the instruments come in and it like sort of confirms the emotion. And then the last bit on heavy metal, and sort of like a lot of his songwriting, it feels to me, I don't know if this is true, is a lot about holding stuff, like trying to hold things in your hands or your arms. Like on "Love Takes Miles," it's in there. There's that little bit in Nina and the Field of Cops where met many-handed boys, which to me feels like somebody that can hold a lot of things, which I don't think Cameron Winter is. Can't Keep Anything feels like a song completely about like holding things as well. And then of course this song Try As I May, where it's like try as I may to hold what, or to love what fits in my hand, I don't, which is just heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking. It's a very clever way, or like nice and sincere way to talk about trying to love things and not being able to either make the choice or hold on or whatever else. So yeah, it's really impressive. And then we'll move on to Getting Killed, which is just such a cool album. So on Getting Killed, because I don't think he has as much control over the production or like the other instruments, because you have three living beings, which is Emily, Dominic, and Max, I believe. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Delivery is a lot more important for the lead singer's voice, the backing vocals, whatever else is happening. I'm sure he's also playing instruments. But I'm going to talk about two songs and mostly focus on the delivery and the backing vocals. And those songs are Half Real and Husbands, both of which I think are about loneliness. So the Half Real, I think, is like about lost love and like the loneliness that comes from that, sort of closer to Try As I May. And then Husbands is about a different kind of loneliness, which I'll get into. But Half Real, it's a lot of bounce pass words. This is what I like about him. He's sort of like a Bricklayer song lyrically, where he chooses the right words and assembles them well. And he decides that it's going to be more about like the delivery than it is. He's not trying to be smart. He's not trying to be annoying. He's like here to get a job done, which is to feel something and make the song feel something and hopefully make the listener feel something. And so I think that comes through in his songwriting. I think you truly feel the emotions of Half Real. And so singing-wise, what's interesting? So this first little bit that I'm going to play is the Something in the Back of My Mind. So the whole first bit is like, somebody says that the love that him and whoever else he was with was only half real. They make a metaphor about a nail in the wall. He says, only assholes feel that way. And then you get this bit, which I find really interesting, which is the Something in the Back of My Mind. So we'll listen to that quickly.
There is something in the back of my mind, in the back of my mind, always in the back of my mind, and the front of my mind too.
I mean, how cool is that? So you have the back of my mind when he sings there's something in the back of my mind, the back of my mind, back of my mind. Also, the lead vocal is so spiteful, like towards the whole first verse or whatever. And then you have the back of my mind singers coming in like from the back of whatever you're listening through. And then you get to, and then you have just like the most thing where this thing occupies his whole mind. And he just says, it's the front of my mind too. And the backing vocals are gone. And I just love how honest that is. And so what is this thing in the back of my mind? We get that in the next bit, which is the half a mind part, which I'll play quickly and talk about. And what you're listening for, if you have headphones on, you may not. If you have headphones on, like listen sort of in the back left of your ear is where we're going to be listening for backing vocals. It's very cool.
I've got half a mind. I've got half a mind. I've got half a mind to just pay for the lobotomy and tell them get rid of the bad times and get rid of the good times too. I've got no more thinking to do.
And that's it. That's like the thing. That's the thing in the back of his mind, in the front of his mind, is wanting to get a lobotomy so that he gets rid of the negative emotions, but in so doing also gets like rid of the positive emotions or negative memories, positive memories. And it's it's so sad. Like it's like very heartbreaking. To me, it's one of the most heartbreaking moments on the album. And it's sort of in the middle of a song. And then what happens after that is like, is the song going to go through with the lobotomy? Like musically, does the song go through with the lobotomy? And then you get my favorite vocal moment, probably on the whole album, is I think whoever our character is, lead singer is, whatever, trying to decide on the lobotomy. Like, am I going to get sliced or am I going to go on living and experiencing this thing that's always in the back of my mind, the front of my mind too? So I'm going to play that quickly. And listen for the oh no, yeah bit, which comes sort of towards the end of this. awesome. So I don't think he gets the lobotomy, which is so cool. So you get like the heartbreak, and then you get like the human deciding to live. Like, you know, it's it's so cool, man. And then the next bit is husbands. And husbands, I think, is a different kind of loneliness. I think it's about songwriting. I think it's about the loneliness of trying to express something and not being sure if it's necessarily the right way. And it's saying that I'm going to try to express this thing. And you don't have to understand it, but I'm going to try to express it. And you don't have to try to hike up the 100 hills with me, but despite that, I'm going to hike up the 100 hills. I'm just going to do it. It's so cool. So I'll play this a little bit.
I'll repeat what I say, but I'll never explain. So you don't have to waste your time. You don't have to waste your time hiking up 100 hills.
And I could be very off here, but I just think that's what I like to take it as. It's like he's going to hike up the hills, but we don't necessarily have to do that. And then you get these little things. I talked about the mystery, like the oysters drowning in front of the oysters. I don't know what it means. Like, I don't know what will it wash your hair clean, or when your husbands all die actually means. But that's what I like the mystery. That's why I think he's like a good liar, because it just feels very true to the emotions of the loneliness that I feel like is coming through this song, and sort of like, it's just the emotion he delivers it with. So I'll play that quickly just to see what you know, so you know what I mean. Yeah, and I really love it when the voice sort of like goes naked from the backing vocals and his delivery just comes through. Like that, will you know what I mean? That just was there. It feels so alone, even though there are other instruments around. Then the song goes on, will you know what I mean? And then he sings this thing about a horse on his back and his loneliness being gone. And I'm just like, this is for you as a listener, for me as a listener. Am I convinced that his loneliness is gone? Like, do I actually think his loneliness is gone?
Yeah, there's a horse on my back, and I may be stomped flat, but my loneliness is gone. Oh, my loneliness is gone. There's a horse on my back.
And again, I talked about the backing vocals on Try As I May, but this is also a little interesting bit, because when he says, all my loneliness is gone, the backing vocals sing that, and then he says, the lead voice says, there's a horse on my back, and the backing vocals say, all my loneliness is gone, as if they thought we were going one direction, and the lead singer's like, shit, maybe I'm still lonely. Which is sort of the last bit about this, is I'm just not convinced that he's not lonely, but sometimes I am convinced, and I think the loneliness is sticking around, and I'll play the part that convinces me why.
And if my loneliness should stay, well, some are holiest that way.
I think it's sort of accepting that the maybe being alone is what's going to happen, and then sort of being like, oh, well, some people are holiest that way. And I think what's really interesting about his songwriting, and why a lot of his songs tend to feel really alive to me, is that in the same song I can both believe and like disbelieve or not believe the singer. So like on Cobra, I don't know if the singer wants to dance away forever, or if the singer wants to wash somebody's feet forever. Like, do I want to dance away from that person, or does he want to dance away from that person, or does he want to wash their feet? And it's same with what is it, the Cocaine tune. Like, you can stay with me, you can be free, you can change, you don't have to change. Like, what does he actually want? I don't know. I think I know what he wants, but I don't know if like he gets that, or if he really reconciles with his own emotions. And Long Island City, this also is on heavy metal a little bit, just this idea of, I know where I'm going, and then I don't know where I'm going. Like the confidence in the I know where I'm going, and then like the acceptance of I don't know where I'm going. But then you listen to the song again, and sometimes you're convinced he very much knows where he's going. And I think as a songwriter, he very much knows where he's going. Yeah, and the song ends with a lot more "Will You Know What I Means" and "Falling Aparts." And then I think it's about the loneliness of trying to express yourself to someone, and maybe trying to express yourself through song, which is why I had Leonard Cohen and Hank Williams in the thumbnail, as well as the first frame of this thing. And it's from this Tower of Song, and it's Leonard Cohen sings, I said to Hank Williams, how lonely does it get? Hank Williams hasn't answered me yet, but I hear him coughing all night long, 100 floors above me in the Tower of Song. And so I think this Tower of Song is about how trying to write really good songs is a very one-sided and lonely endeavor. And it's something he feels, Leonard Cohen in this case, like feels he has to do. Like he's born with the gift of a golden voice, and he feels like he has to like sing these songs. And I'm sure he's like wrapped up in some aspect of, well, is this vain? Is this not vain? I want to convey these emotions. And I think what good songs do is about feeling and conveying human feeling. And I think Husbands is a song about trying to do that, and the loneliness of trying to convey human emotion. But of course I could be wrong. Like, this is also subjective. So I'll let Leonard play us off with the Hank Williams, How Lonely Does It Get?
I said to Hank Williams, how lonely does it get? Hank Williams hasn't answered yet, but I hear him coughing all night long. Oh, 100 floors above me in the Tower of Song.